Hi, welcome to Tuesdays at 2 with your co-host Vicki Semander, founder of the Secrets of the Sistership, and Constance Jones, Sistership board member and HMSDC vice president of operations. Today, Constance will be interviewing Tiffany Williams, creative officer, the chief creative officer of Twice Media Productions. Take it away, Constance.
Thank you, Vicki. As always, it's a pleasure to host Tuesdays at 2 with Vicki and share with you information that's really helping our firms pivot during COVID. So as we look at what happened when coronavirus hit Houston and hit the world, a lot of us was doing business as usual and doing business in maybe the traditional sense. Since COVID has hit us, we definitely have to understand how to remain relevant. We've heard that from the previous guests that we've had at Tuesdays at 2, and now we're going to hear from Tiffany Williams, who's the Chief Creative Officer from Twice Media Productions. Their organization is a videography, photography, but a media icon who's going to share with us how to remain relevant and how to ensure that we utilize all the technology we have so we can stay on the forefront of our business's mind. Without further ado, I'll turn it over to Tiffany Williams. Tiffany?
Good afternoon, ladies. How are you guys doing today?
Great, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm excited to be here. This is a really strange time. There's a lot of stuff changing and businesses are having to pivot and figure things out. And, you know, our thoughts, of course, go out to everybody on the front lines and everybody that's suffering during this time. But we also want to look at this as a way for us to rethink and reimagine how we operate, you know, as a society. And so, you know, this has presented a lot of opportunities for entrepreneurs, especially to be creative and be innovative and really take advantage of this time to get in front of people. Because the thing about the situation is that nobody has it figured out. Even the big guys, even the big businesses do not have it figured out. So we're all navigating this unknown space and really leaning on each other for creative ideas. So, you know, businesses, especially the smaller ones, need to really be leveraging video marketing, social media marketing, and ways to really stay visible and stay in front of their audiences. Because we were talking a little bit earlier before we went live, and Vicki was talking about how the world is not going to look the same post-COVID-19. And we don't even know when it's going to end, really. We don't know when COVID-19 is going to go away. So that sense of normalcy that we once knew is, you know, we may never see that again. So we need to be prepared on how we're going to offer value as we move forward in this unknown space. And so video is one of the most powerful ways that you can engage and reach people. I tell my customers all the time that, you know, video is so powerful because it has that human element. So just as you can see my mannerisms and my expressions and everything in person, and, you know, you can also see those things on video. And the live component makes it much more interactive and you can really engage with people. And marketing is really just about, you know, staying top of mind and building trust with consumers. And so it's a really powerful way for you to be able to do that. So I'm excited to talk about it today.
Cool, Tiffany. So should I just, I'm no videographer, so should I just start going out there and taking videos and posting them on my social media page and that's my strategy?
So yes and no. You want to have a strategy in place before you start doing anything, but you don't want to over strategize and get into that, as we say, analysis paralysis, where you're not actually moving forward, because now is the time. for a lot of us whose schedules aren't as busy. We were talking earlier about, not having to commute all over Houston has saved us a tremendous amount of time. So I would say, yes, you want to have some sort of strategy in place. You want to be planning your content out. You want to look at, the calendar and what's ahead of you. And I know things are uncertain, but I would say the biggest piece of advice is really figuring out how you can add value during this time. One of the things that my company did was create a Facebook group where we talk every week about DIY video, marketing tips, technology tips for businesses, because that's how we felt we could offer value during this time. So, there's some brands that have been making ventilators, out distributing meals and helping in that regard, and, making masks. Everyone doesn't have the capacity to do that, but that doesn't mean that you can't help in some other way. Like, look at what your expertise is. And I think a lot of us sometimes, because we are so wrapped up in our brands and our industry, that we think what we know is common knowledge. But you'd be surprised at the people who have no clue about your industry. So what can you offer them? What tips, what strategies, what advice can you offer them? Because now you're positioning yourself as a resource and they are looking to you. And I think this is a critical time to look at how brands are going to be remembered post COVID-19. You're seeing some brands come out, like we had Shake Shack not too long ago, give back the 10 million from the PPP because they knew that their brand reputation was much more than worth much more than that $10 million that they got from the federal government. So what brands do right now is critical. So how can you offer value? How can you position yourself as a resource? And how can you stay in front of your audience and stay engaged so that they see you, they hear from you, they look to you as a resource. And when all this is over, when they are in the market to buy your product or service, they're going to remember your brand. So what value can you offer? I would challenge everyone to think of that and then start posting videos, where your customers are. So that's another key point, knowing who your customer base is and where they are and what language they speak, and then meeting them there and using video to do it.
And so you gave 2 great tips on how to get started, right? First one is understanding the value that I bring to my customer and what do I want it to say about my brand. And then 2, posting where my customers are. Would you say that is the first kind of 2 steps I need to do in order to create a strategy? Or would you say that's just a piece of it and then there's some additional things I need to do?
So that's a piece of it. That's a great way to start. So understanding who your audience is and where they are, what language they speak, that's critical. Because what you don't want to do is just start posting stuff and you're not really speaking or relating to anyone. So understanding your market, where they are, what social media platforms they are using. And hey, some of your demographic might not be using social media at all. So what can you do with your email list? If you haven't started building one, how can you start building one now? So figuring out where they are, start posting where they are. And then you can do a survey and ask, what is it that they are looking to gain? Reach out to your current clients. I was just telling a friend of mine the other day she's my personal trainer. And, I was like, don't overthink it. You have a loyal client base that's willing to work with you, and we're not going anywhere. I mean, yeah, we can't physically come and work out with you every day, but you have an active client base that's willing to support you. You have old blog posts that you used to write. You have old videos. You're sitting on this content. You have everything in your arsenal. Just get started. So I would say another thing is to look back at what you have archived. Do you have old blog posts that can be repurposed as videos or even just as written content? Do you have old photos or things that you can do to post? Because everything doesn't have to be video. That's just one of the most powerful ways. But what do you already have? So finding out who your audience is and where they are, looking at what you already have so that you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. And then if you do have to start from scratch, that's fine too. But identifying, so looking at the calendar and saying, okay, what are my opportunities? What's feasible right now with the time I have? So I picked once a week. So in my Facebook group, I go live with a guest once a week, and I talk about different aspects of marketing and video. That's what I have the capacity to do now. Going forward, post COVID-19, I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with that schedule, because that's a lot of live, but maybe it's once a month. But be realistic with what, you know, your time will allow right now. So I would say planning out that calendar, and then also identifying opportunities on that calendar. So what are some of the holidays coming up? If you have a product that you can market and use, you know, Mother's Day, for instance, I think that's the next holiday coming up. What are some specials or discounts, or, you know, what's something that you can promote during that time? So looking at that calendar and seeing what dates are coming up. If there's some virtual events, if you want to host a virtual event, you know, I would say look at that calendar and plan it out and be realistic with your time, and then stick to it. You can't plan all this out and strategize and then never execute, or execute and then not stay consistent. So that was a long-winded answer. Hopefully I answered.
Oh, no. That was great information, because it's information that we all need and hear. And, you know, it's important that people understand that on the flip side to that, we are a Twice Media client. And so some of this information that you're sharing with me is also kind of knock upside the head, like, you were in that over strategizing phase, and now we still need to execute, which kind of leads me to my next question. So we, Tiffany, you and I met right before COVID, and we had a strategy, and we went through that plan, and we were going to do some things differently, especially in this first quarter, going into the second quarter, when we had different events that were meant to connect our businesses together. And so now we're just kind of sitting on that plan, because one, we didn't know what to do, right? And we're having to pivot as an organization on ways that we're providing services to our businesses. So when we've had the plan, how do you recommend, or what do you recommend that we do in order to not throw the plan away, because it's still very valuable, but it may not be executed in the same way in which we initially discussed?
Absolutely. So one of the things about marketing is that nothing is ever concrete. You are constantly testing stuff out and making adjustments. So even in that strategy that we discussed, there's a whole portion in there about assessing what's working and what's not, and then making adjustments accordingly. So right now we're all having to adjust. So I would say for you, for instance, there's so many different things that you can do. So you've already started offering resources. I've seen you guys been doing the webinars on the national level and sharing that content. You've been doing your own. You're doing these Tuesdays at 2. So you're already staying in front of your client base and saying, hey, we're here for you. We have resources for you. We are visible. We are doing stuff. Hey, so that's critical. But also reaching out to your membership and having them post content. So I just texted a former client of mine, because they're in the process of raising money right now to stay in business. And I was like, have you reached out to some of your old, or to some of your current clients and some of your former employees, and have them do a quick little video to encourage people to donate as well? So that's a part of your strategy. So now that's content that you don't even have to create in-house. That's content that you're soliciting from other people that support you. And even going back to my trainer as an example, you know, having her tag her clients when we do attend her virtual workshops. Now she's able to tag us and promote, and then we're able to share it on our pages and help her promote too, and now sell these online workshops. So looking at not only what you can do in-house to pivot and position yourself as a resource and offer value and stay visible, but what are some of the people you have in your community that are also willing to support you? You know, so I would say those are probably 2 things that I would absolutely do as part of your strategy: reaching out to who you already have, and really just being that resource, as I can't say enough.
Thank you for that. So we hear it all the time, and Of course, we know most people say when we are in times like this, the first funds to really be cut is in marketing, right? We tend to cut that budget first. Even if we didn't have a budget from the begin with, it's cut. And so now that we're in these times, it's cut even more. So we're not thinking about marketing at this point, right? We're talking about, I need to be able to continue to pay my employees. I need to continue to figure out how we're going to get work done. So Tiffany, what advice would you give a entrepreneur or just give a business person, period, that is saying or have the mindset, I have no money to market?
Well, I say a few things. So the beautiful thing about the day and age we live in right now is that you don't have to have a big marketing budget to stay visible and stay in front of your clients. And I understand as somebody in marketing how it gets cut first. But I can't, like I said earlier, the brands that will be remembered are the ones that are active right now, that are doing things for the community, that are positioning themselves as a resource, that are making big, bold moves, like giving back that $10 million as Shake Shack did. So it's a critical time. Now, I understand you have to prioritize. That's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You have so many different hats that you're wearing and other things that you have to worry about. So absolutely make sure your employees are taken care of. Absolutely make sure that you can operate in this new remote space. But don't necessarily forget about marketing. Maybe that's just number 3 or number 4 on your to-do list, but don't forget about it because you've got to stay visible. When I look for an organization or a business to support after this is over, more than likely it's going to be the ones that I see every day when I log on to Facebook. And I know you mentioned that Tristan will be on next week. He's going to talk about Facebook ads. Right now is a critical time to be running ads because a lot of the big brands that do have big budgets to spend have pulled their ads. And Facebook works on an auction system. So the less people that are buying ads right now means the lower the price is. So it's a critical time, even if you don't have a big budget, to put some money toward Facebook ads. And again, if you don't have any, that's fine too, because you can still be posting content. You can create a group like I did on Facebook. You can be reaching out to your old email list or trying to build a new one. There's so many other things that you can do right now. You just really got to think creatively. And if that's not your wheelhouse, there's probably somebody on your team. There's an intern. There's companies like mine. There's resources out there. You just got to be willing to think differently and not forget about marketing because it is a critical part of your business, especially in times like this.
Great commercial for the council. HMSDC is a certifying agency that certifies, develop, connect, and advocate minority-owned businesses and help them get contracts with major corporations, governmental agencies, and educational institutions. We have a program called the Total Business Development Program that we relaunched this year, and that program allows you to utilize the services of professional services firms like Twice Media Productions, like she mentioned Tristan, who will be our guest next week, to be able to utilize their services and help you during this time. And so HMSDC covers some of the costs and you have to cover the rest of the costs, but it is a way that's cost effective and efficient for you to utilize these talents and resources of these businesses that we've been bringing you on Tuesdays at 2. So I'm excited about that opportunity and excited that Tiffany is sharing this information with us. So Tiffany, as a business owner, tell me, what are you doing? So I know that, this seems easy for you, right? Because this is kind of what you do, right? That is exactly the response I'm looking for. So tell me, where do I start? I'm thinking you're talking way above my head. Look, I don't know. I'm not really on Facebook. I go to LinkedIn every now and again. So and in my mind, LinkedIn is where I should be because it's more professional than Facebook. I'm hearing all of this stuff. Can you kind of help put all this in perspective for me?
So I can try. So it's going to be different for everybody. But one thing that I always teach in my classes is start with Facebook. If you have nothing else, if you have no social media presence, you don't know who your audience is 100%, you don't know where to start, go to Facebook. And I say that because Facebook, literally everybody's on Facebook. So it's a platform where you're going to reach your demographic because they're on there. Everybody from my 14-year-old little sister to my 75-year-old grandmother are on Facebook. So you're literally, your demographic is on there somewhere. So LinkedIn might be primarily where they are, and that's fine. If you've already identified that, then go there. But if you have not identified that yet, I would say Facebook is a great place to start. And it's relatively easy to set up a Facebook page. So you'll have to set up a page for your business. You'll have to start posting to that page. But I would say start there. And then really, as we said earlier, plan out that strategy. You can post all of your content to Facebook. And so I would say start there. Just as step one. Now there's more stuff that you can do. As I said, you can look back at some of the archive stuff that you have, some old video clips, some old blog posts, some old photos and things that can be repurposed. You can reach out to your customer base and your employees and have them share content, photos and videos of what they're doing in the community. You know, there's other steps, but I would say Facebook, just start there. And then you can build. And there's so many resources out there that can help you navigate Facebook if you are just getting started. So start there. And you don't have to run ads right away. Tristan will talk all about, and Tristan will kill me for saying that, but he'll talk about that next week. And you definitely want to do that eventually. But as a first step, create a Facebook page and start posting to it. That's it.
Hey, that's okay. Controversy causes people to come back. So we like that. We like that, right? I'm sure Tristan will have something to say. So let's get real for a second, Tiffany, right? Because, you know, we've been locked up now for a little over 6 weeks. And let's be real. Beauty shop is closed. And so most of us ladies, I'm talking to the ladies and even some of the men, you know, my husband is walking around here looking like Tito Brown with the afro going. So if we talk about, we don't really think we look the part to be able to share video and be able to do that. What are your thoughts about that?
Get out of your own way. I teach this in my camera confidence class. A lot of times we get caught up on how we look and how we sound and all these things that are irrelevant when all the audience wants is the information and the expertise that you have to bring. So by you getting caught up on all of these aesthetics and all of this stuff that really doesn't matter, you are depriving your audience of the expertise that you have to bring. So look, I'm in the same boat because this stuff I've been hanging on for dear life, just trying to make it last. And it is so thick and dry up in here. Hey, but look, I did what I could with the flat iron right before we went live, but you see me keep messing with it because it's a mess. But, you know, I'm not into all of that and I don't do the makeup and all that stuff, not often anyway, but I had to get out of my own way too, because I started off not wanting to be on camera, but it's a necessary part because people at the end of the day are doing business with other people. Yes, you might be a B2B business, but the person that procurement person, that sales rep, that business manager, whoever it is that's that key decision maker you're trying to reach, even those gatekeepers, those are people. So you've got to connect with the people and they want to hear from you. So you got to get out of your own way and stop thinking about stuff that's irrelevant, because if you bring real value, that's what people are going to pay attention to. Now, some of them might talk about you, you know, but that's going to happen. You're never going to please everybody. And even if you are quote unquote gorgeous, somebody's always going to think there's somebody prettier than you. So get out of your head and just get out there and be on video.
Yeah, I think that's a true comment. You know, what's interesting is that it's the whole human factor, right? So people want to do business with who they know, like, and trust, and they see you right now and you look more human to them now than you did when we did the glamour shots back in February. So, you know, I get it, right? So that's true. And I wanted to make sure people heard that, because that may be stopping a lot of people from using this type of technology in order to be able to stay relevant in front of their business. So I wanted them to hear it from an expert, right? I wanted them to hear it from you, that it's okay to be real, right? It's okay. We all understand that it's okay that you're not going to look like that. You walked right out of the salon and be on video, as long as you share the message and you remain relevant to the content, like you said.
And people appreciate that transparency and that vulnerability. Because they can connect to that too. So we all are going through it. Everybody is quarantined. We're all going through the same stuff right now. So everybody knows it's a little rough out here. So just be yourself. Just come on with the, you know, with the messy beard or the, you know, the messy hair, whatever, and just offer value to the people, because that's what we need right now. We need that encouragement. We need that information. You know, whatever it is you offer, we need it. So don't deprive us of that because you're worried about how you look.
And then, so we're coming up on our time, and I want to give you an opportunity to make any closing remarks, but I do want to talk just a little bit about, you have a class, MVP class, that I participated in a couple years ago. It's called Mobile Video Production. It was put on, I know you put some on, we put some on as HMSDC, but it was really my first introduction of how to utilize my video for other than my daughter's volleyball game, and to actually use that tool to be effective for the business. And so can you share just a little bit about that, and then provide any closing remarks you would to our audience?
Absolutely. So you said it, it's mobile video production. There is, you know, we all have access to smartphones for the most part that have really great cameras. One of the things that always gets upgraded when they come out with a new phone is the camera, because that is that important and it's that critical. So you have the tools. Now there's certain things that we teach in the class that help you make it look more professional. But I think one of the things about right now, especially, is that people are more forgiving. So as long as you've got 3 critical things that I always teach in my class, and that is lighting, audio, and stabilization. So you got some stable surface or tripod or something that you can have that camera steady. You've got some decent audio, whether that's you using your camera mic on the phone and being close to it, or even if you purchase an external microphone from Amazon, and then you have some sort of light. Like right now, you know, I have just this little LED light, really simple, that's kind of adding some additional light, like, and then the window is huge and it's providing some additional fill light. So as long as you've got those 3 things, you can go ahead and start producing videos on your own, and stop thinking so hard about it, because like I said, people are just more forgiving right now because they know that we're all scrambling to figure this out, but they're going to be paying more attention to what you're saying, especially if they can hear you and they can see you. And that's the most critical thing. And then you don't want to make people sick because you're bouncing all around. So stabilization, audio, and lighting are the 3 tips that I would give there. And we go much more in depth in the class. As you know, you've taken it, but that's kind of my 3 basic tips if you just need something to get started. And then in terms of closing remarks, hey, I said it, just get started. You know, I think we said it earlier, people are overthinking. And I understand that you need time for your mental space, and you need time to step back and reflect, and you need time to do that, and take that by all means. But also understand that this is a critical time for you to position your brand as a resource, and for you to connect and stay engaged with your audience, because the brands that are offering value right now are the brands that are going to be remembered. So what value, I challenge all of you watching, what value can you bring? And then just get started providing that to your audience. And you never know what can come out of an opportunity like this.
Thank you, Tiffany. And thank you, audience, for tuning in and chatting with Tiffany from Twice Media Productions, and myself and Vicki Semander, my co-host with The Secrets of the Sistership. This has been some valuable information that we are learning about how to just kind of stay relevant today. And I think it's very impactful and it's very transparent that we will be able to use this information, even if we happen to be on the other side of this and are unemployed. We can still take a tip out of what we learned today with Tiffany and learn how to reinvent ourselves so that we are more marketable to employers that will be on the other side of this once we end COVID. One of the things that Tiffany said, and she hammered home all the time, is bringing value. And so this is very important that we look at ways to bring value to our clients. And so we are bringing you that value today by having this expert come and share her insightful information. So again, Tiffany, on behalf of the Secrets of the Sistership and HMSDC, we'd like to thank you for your participation.
Well, thank you for having me. And I do want to mention one more quick thing, because you mentioned those looking for employment opportunities, video resumes. That's a way to stand out. I used to require my students at Prairie View to create one as part of their class so that they could differentiate themselves, because HR directors have piles of resumes to read. But by having that video resume, you've now stood out. And so, look, there's all kinds of ways you can use video, whether you're an individual or a business. But definitely just start playing around with it. Start exploring, make mistakes. It's okay, but just get started.
Thank you again, Tiffany, and we appreciate you so much for coming on. Next week on Tuesdays at 2, we'll have Tristan Sutton. We'll hear the little battle that he has to say about Facebook ads and what Tiffany said about just get started. So look forward for you tuning in next Tuesday at 2. Thank you.
Thank you.